Oh my goodness. Good afternoon.
You're rolling with Dr. K. Dr. K. 100% activity every Wednesday. You're rolling with Dr. K. Oh, Dr. K. 100% disability every Wednesday.
Yay.
I am so excited. I get excited every time, I hear that. And the fun thing about it is that my cousin did it for me in like a day. I said, look, I need a theme song for my show. And it was just done. I love her.
That's amazing.
Shout out to cousin sister Pat, all the way down in Atlanta, Georgia. Yay!
Yay.
Well, I have to tell everybody, this show has been a song for my show.
Yay.
This show has been a long time.
I have to tell everybody, this show has been a.
There we go. All right, let's cut the volume down on some of this stuff. It's been a long time coming. So I know that it is going to be epic. We are actually back in Michigan today. We were in New York on last week. And on today, we are in, I guess you're considered Byron Center.
Yes.
Yeah, you're considered Byron Center. And we are with Miss Ella Bonner, who is the youth transition specialist. And we want to say thank you to Jason Lee, who's watching and from here in Grand Rapids, and to Yantia Atkinson, who's watching from Atlanta. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes. Hello.
So, what is it that you do exactly at Disability Advocates of Kent County?
Well, for me, I work with families. Number one, when I initially came into this role, it was just youth. But I understood the necessity of families understanding this process as well. So being able to kind of branch out a little bit to work with their parents as well, to helping that young adult transition from youth into adulthood. And so a lot of things change as that process comes. And, as a parent myself, sometimes you're just not ready. So you need someone to kind of help navigate that path for you. And so being able to connect with not only the adults, but the young adults in the classroom or via referrals, reaching to their parents and saying, hey, what are your plans to help support your young adult as they become more independent? The number one goal is to allow them to be as independent as possible, but we know we all need support at times. And so what does that support look like moving forward? So that's my role.
I like to call it interdependence. Most people, it's either you're dependent or independent, but there is the term interdependence where you can live your own self-directed life. However, everybody has this support system.
Yes.
And we have to understand that the children and the families that you're helping, they have disabilities. Ella works for Disability Advocates of Kent County, which is one of 15 centers for independent living, where persons with disabilities, whether they usually start at age 14.
Correct.
And they actually go beyond 26 on a lot of services. But as far as, school, it's up to age 26. But
Correct.
Anything outside of that for housing, transportation, anybody can come in. They have occupational therapy services and home care services. So, if you fall and need any of those services, those are available. But what Ella does in particular is help young folks matriculate. We know that as parents, being a mother of 3 adults, and I have 8 grandchildren. Woo, Lord Jesus, just to say that number. Yeah, I have 8, and then I have about 3 or 4 more honorary or bonus, grandchildren. So that puts me at around 10, 12 of them,
Yes.
meandering around, and they all have different needs.
Correct.
And some of them may have a diss in front of their abilities. And it's nice to know that we have someone that we can go to. I think one of the issues in our communities, especially as Black and Brown people, as we navigate, we don't see people like us.
Correct. Yep. And that's where the disadvantage comes in at, is that if you have not been accustomed to or put in this environment, it's something that you just don't know. And so being able to understand all of those processes, and I would have to say, if I can say, I thank God for my mother, who was in special education for years. And so this is an environment that is a part of me. It's just who I am. And so understanding how all of that moves and how different things come about, it helps in the role that I'm in. And so when you look at our environment, meaning the Black and Brown community, what is it that we miss at times? And that's where I feel like we have to stop that missing point. And so what do I need to bring to the table to make sure that all of the different avenues or pathways that are available to everyone is available to everyone?
Oh, I like that. Say that again.
I said, Ella's main goal is to make sure that all avenues, all aspects are available to all, but available to all. And so that is
Where
huge.
do you think that we missed it? Do you think that I think that the responsibility is equal? Are the agencies missing us, or are we missing the agencies?
I think it's a combination of both. And the reason why I say that it's a combination of both is because, number one, for us, it is difficult at times to admit that there's a need,
Oh,
that
wow.
there's a diss in front of the abilities. And so that is where that breakdown comes in. But on the other hand of that, a lot of agencies only target one population. And so that is where the discord comes in. So when we are in these particular roles and we're in these particular positions, we need to make sure, again, that all are getting the services that are needed, making sure that we are visible in all areas, all counties, all neighborhoods, all school districts. And so that is, again, like I said, my number one goal is making sure that we all can benefit from the benefits of every agency, because being connected, being in the one connects you to others. So making sure that when I'm having these conversations with my consumers, have you heard about this? Do you know about Network 180? Do you know about Beyond 26? All of the different connections, being able to make sure that those families can receive the fullest benefit that is available to them.
I appreciate that, and I know that those who are watching will definitely be able to benefit. So if they need to get in touch with you, we have your number scrolling down at the bottom, and it is 616-323-2233. So if you have a child or you know of one that has a DIS, definitely reach out. Now, do you help with the individual education plans?
That Yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because I also have a background in education. I worked for a school district for over 20 years. And so the bulk of those years were in special education. So because of that background, I understand IEPs. I understand what the educational plans are. And so being able to have a conversation with individuals that are getting ready to start that process, meaning just because we, meaning disability advocates, service individuals 14 to 26. Well, my role, let me back up. My role is to service individuals in that age bracket. I feel it's very vital that we reach back a little bit further or a little bit earlier than that, because again, the system as a whole is something that you have to prepare yourself for and get acclimated to. And that starts with the IEP process. And so helping families understand what that looks like, understanding what you can ask for, because I've been told that's, oh, well, no, we can't do that. No, if that parent ask for that accommodation or ask for that need for their child, it should be in their IEP. You have the right to request any service that you feel that your child needs to be productive in the classroom, to be productive as a young adult. You have that right. And so making sure helping individuals understand that is also something that I do um, on top of my job role.
So you understand the IEPs, but then you're mainly trying to help them to get jobs.
Correct. Now we do attend IEPs, but we attend IEPs from the aspect of a community resource. And so when we're invited to IEPs, we sometimes are allowed to listen in. Sometimes they just want you to come in during the part where the community agency is able to have a conversation, and you kind of just talk about what you do as that community agency. But I've had parents who have called me ahead of time and said, um, I have an IEP coming up. I'm not pleased with where things are going. I was told one thing and this isn't happening. How do I navigate that? And because I am aware of the process, I can give feedback on some steps to take, making sure that those goals and objectives are met in that IEP process.
Hmm. Now, this sounds so complicated. How do you help people to really understand what's happening? And why do you only wait until they're 14 years old? Don't you need assistance prior to 14?
Yes, you do. And because of the role that I am in here at Disability Advocates, our policy is what we consider youth are those that are getting ready to transition into closer to adulthood. And so helping them as they're learning job skills, helping them as they're possibly going into college, that is the role that disability advocates plays in the part of the young adult, where I have kind of took on the role of family support services is where I have families who reach out to me and say, this is what's kind of going on. This is what I need. This is where I could use some help. And then I can help navigate along those lines. But that's also with some restraints because, again, our targeted age group is 14 to 26-year-olds.
Hmm. Well, we're almost 15 minutes after the hour. We want to say thank you so much for tuning in to Rolling with the Doc. If you're watching via GRTV 25 on today, it is August 28th. Can you believe it? It's the end of the month. And it's Wednesday. I'm sorry. I said it's Tuesday. It is Wednesday, the 28th of August. And we are so glad that you are such a loyal viewer. We're
Yes,
grateful for
yes,
you, and we thank you for your feedback. And we're grateful for those who are watching via streaming, online, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yes.
We have Miss Ella here, who is the Youth Transition Specialist at Disability Advocates of Kent County. They're located at 160 68th Street Southwest, and that's Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49548. And she can be reached at 616, that's a 323 2233. And
Correct.
we were talking a little bit about the IEPs, but let's move over into, let's kind of walk this through. I have a 14-year-old. Are they already diagnosed, or do they need to be diagnosed in order to come to you?
They should already be diagnosed. And so, with that, usually what happens is a lot of referrals come from teachers. And so teachers will communicate with the parent, you know, you might need to, it's time to start reaching out to disability advocates and so then we'll get a call that way. Um, Also, some of it is out from the outreach that we may do in the community events or different things like that. I have, and my coworker, we've tried to partner with schools to make sure that the staff know who we are, the students know who we are, and then as a result of that, then the parents know who we are. Now, if there is an incident where you have a young adult who has not been diagnosed, then there's resources out there that we can connect them to, making sure that that happens. One huge one is Network 180. And so there's a referral process, and then psychiatric a psych evaluation is done, and then the process kind of starts from there. There's other agencies out there as well that kind of does those same type of things, but for individuals who receive Medicaid, most, I can say almost 90% of the time, the process starts with Network 180. And so what I like to explain to my families is that, you know how you have a primary care physician
Yeah.
and you need to go to them in order to go see the foot doctor or the, you know,
To see a specialist.
yes, see a specialist. And so that's kind of how Network 180 is. They are the specialists. They are the primary care physician. And then if an event you don't want services through them, you can venture out to other resources. And so that's kind of how we also play a role in that, connecting them with Network 180. But then if Network 180 does not fit well for that young adult or that family, connecting them to other agencies that does. And so I think that's the vital part of getting to know the families that you work with, is because then you can better service them. You know, if I have a young adult that I know I'm working with, and I'm, just for the sake of saying, they are autistic, so there's a lot of different things that come with that. Why would I send them into an environment, I'm going to say, as big as um, a stadium when they are not used to huge crowds? They don't like that type of pressure, or all that sound is a little bit too intense for them. So just getting to know, you know, them, how they operate, is very vital in this process of making sure that their needs are met and their services are met. Because my number one goal, again, is making sure that everyone I come in contact with are able to live their best life. And what does that look like?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So
And
is
one thing I want to say, I'm
uh,
sorry. One
the
thing I
time
also
you
want to
said,
say is that it's not a one and done for me. I'm in it for the long haul. So may start with working with the young adult at 14, and we walk through the process. They're they're getting a job, they are gaining independent living where they may be possibly getting ready to get into their own housing or whatever, and 4 or 5 years down the road something comes up, they can reach out to me. I may reach out to them. Hey, how's it going? You need anything? What does where are you at? Where are you in this process called life? And how can I help? So when you come into um I'm I'm gonna say fellowship with me,
I like that.
it's a fellowship that's gonna last.
Dr. Vertaji is watching from Detroit, and she's in agreement with everything that you're saying. What happens if you have a young person who's completed an IEP, or completed something similar? Maybe they've gone through the life skills classes
Mm-hmm.
instead of going through regular education classes, and they're deemed not being able to get a job. What do you do to help them?
Well, then we take a look at what skills or what barriers are there that are preventing you to do that. But there are other opportunities and other things that maybe right now, at that particular point, maybe there's a trade or something that they may be interested in doing. Maybe there's volunteer opportunities that may help build those skills toward gaining employment. I find that a lot of times, voluntary opportunities turn into employment because you've been there and you volunteer and they love how well you do. It turns into, would you like a job? And so being able to continue with that learning process, because we're always learning, it's just some of us learn differently, and helping all of us understand that is something also, because not only do I work with those individuals, I will work with the employment agent, I will work with the volunteer coordinators, I will work with everyone involved. We're all a part of this process of that individual becoming successful. So how do we all work together to make sure that the end result is that this young person has the life that they want to live? So that partnership has to be, it has to be, it has to be tight. It becomes a circle with the same goal, with the ultimate end result being, what does that young adult need to live a self-sufficient life?
I love it. I love it. Now, when we think about Network 180, and for those who are not in Michigan, Network 180 is known for like the
It's the
clearinghouse.
community. It's the community mental resource. Community mental health. So every state, every and what am I going to say? Every state, and I'm not sure about other countries, but they should have a community mental health program or agency that helps navigate those processes. And so that's what Network 180 is. That's what we call it here in Michigan.
Now, if I have a disability, why am I going through a clearinghouse for mental health?
Unfortunately, how do I want to say this? Unfortunately, everything has to be proven, and so there's the documentation piece that has to be involved. And so when you say a clearinghouse, it's more so some individuals obtain a diss in front of their ability later in life, or some individuals are born with it. And so that paperwork, if I can, for lack of a better word, is already built. If you have an individual that is born with Down syndrome, you will already know that that is going to be a life sustaining disability. So that paperwork was already established from birth. And so just in on top of all of that, those are processes that each agency kind of goes to because it's state funded. The when you're receiving funding from other entities, you have to follow guidelines. And no, that's
Wait
part
a
of
minute. We need to stop just for a second because but I need to say thank you, Monique Reddick, for tuning in. We appreciate you. So you're saying to me, my child is born with Down syndrome,
Mhm.
and they still need to go through Network 180
Yes.
in order to receive services?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Well, what kind of stigma is that being placed, on those children? That, if you will, and that is a clearinghouse.
Hmm.
If I have to go there in order to get the services that I need, just like what we have here. If you're homeless, you have to go to the Salvation Army first for
Correct.
them to refer you. So that's the clearinghouse or the gateway, if
Yep.
you will, in order to get a place to live. So, how did they decide that a mental health facility is where you need to start in order to get services that you need?
I think the mental part is just part of the name. It's not. They don't. It's just not a mental disability organization. It's all disabilities, and so it's
I
kind of like.
understand that. So I'm not saying that I'm not talking about a mental disability. I'm saying if I have a physical disability,
Hmm.
then why am I going? It's just like if my eyes are bad, why am I going to I wouldn't go to the foot doctor.
Correct.
So help the audience to understand, if I have a physical disability, why am I going to a mental health facility in order to get assistance because I'm in a wheelchair?
Because they're the umbrella. They are the they are the like I said, like they're the umbrella, and then you know how the umbrella have all those separate
Yes.
that's where it starts for. So even with homelessness, they have facility for they work with individuals that are homeless. They have individuals for they work with placing individuals in housing, meaning if there's a young adult who needs an AFC home or adult foster home, that you got to start there. If you need services helping with employment or employability skills, you can also get that there. So they are the umbrella with all the tentacles that service this huge umbrella as it relates to disability, for no matter what that entails. All disabilities, either mental, physically, if it's a combination of the two, whatever the disability is, that is the umbrella where it has to start. And then I don't want to use the word filter, but that's kind of what it is. They filter out where you need to go from there.
So if my child is 15
Uh-huh.
and has cerebral palsy, I can't come directly to Disability Advocates of Kent County and make an appointment with you. I would have to go back to Network 180.
You can come to us and work with us, but a lot of the services that we offer are not the maximum of services that you will receive through Network 180. And so that's kind of
Y'all see my
because that's
face? Y'all see
I
my
know
face?
I see it,
Y'all
but
see
that's
my
the
face?
difference between the funding. We are a nonprofit organization. So when you are a nonprofit, you have to stick within the parameters of certain what's the word Dave just told me, pillars. You have to stick
Y'all
within
see
those
my face?
pillars.
Y'all see my face? Y'all see
You
my
have to
face?
stick within
And this
those
is
pillars.
why.
But I
And
think
this is why that we don't come in.
that and that
Because
is so
me, in my mind, I'm still looking at Network 180 as it is a clearinghouse for mental health. And all that I know of Network 180 is when people who have neurological disabilities, when they fall apart, that's where they call them, and that's where they go. And you end up either going to Pine Rest, or you get locked up because you didn't got into some trouble because of your mental disability, or you're bipolar, uh, or you're having an episode because you're coming off of drugs. That's what I see. That is what we all know of Network 180.
and
You
that
know,
is
we
so
don't
true.
see it
Yeah.
as this hub of if I go there. So if many of you don't know, we have Special Olympics Michigan has created this one of a kind campus where there are several agencies that you can go to. You just come in the door, and there's all these agencies with disability, dealing with mental health,
Yeah.
dealing with autism, Down
Correct.
syndrome, you know, and you get in there and you're just like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Now that is somewhere I would say would need to be your clearinghouse, or your, as you will, your octopus that you made up here with all the tentacles, instead of going somewhere that has this stigma attached to it. I would say that it would preclude so many people from not getting the help that they need.
And I totally agree with that. But the difference is most of us that are in this building, again, we are nonprofits. So the funding that Network 180 has does not even, we don't even come close to the funding because they're state federal agency, and so their dollars look a lot different. I totally agree. We need to change that system, because even going to even one of those other agencies thresholds, when you go and you sit down with one of their counselors, they're going to ask you, do you have an open case with Network 180? And so, and now it's not to say that they're going to deny you services, but they're going to say, well, we need to connect you to Network 180. And that's kind of the piece that's the piece. And so
Bertaggi says, wow, I know.
double wow.
This is
Double wow. And so that's why we got to
this
figure
is
out a way
why.
to do it.
And now, you're looking for the answer. We know what the problem is,
Yep.
and we're trying to figure out, it's like there's something else. What is that glitch? And I would have to say, if I needed to go through Network 180 to get to disability advocates, you probably would never see me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that is why a lot of people don't know also about a disability advocates. Because one thing I will say, everything that we do is free. And so our services are amazing that we do offer, but they are a little limited. But again, that's why I said for myself, Ella, I do my services a little different. I'm making sure that I meet the goals or the needs of my families that I work with. And so that's the difference. But I feel as though it is very important that we understand why we need to vote. And I know this is not a political, but those are our votes changes things like that. And so when we are visible in elections, we're saying, hey, we don't like this, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
time for change. And so we're ready for change. And so we have to pay attention to things along those lines. Otherwise, we
what's on the ballot. I mean,
correct.
when they
Correct.
say we want more funding for, Network 180, we just say no.
Correct.
We want the funding to go over here to Disability Advocates of Kent County so that
Correct.
we have, more of a streamlined system instead of feeling as though, I don't want to be punished. The world seems to punish us enough because you have this disc.
Mm-hmm.
And then to say, I have to add on the stigma of going to Network 180 before I can get services. I'm frustrated already.
Don't be frustrated.
I'm frustrated already.
It's not that you can't get services, and I don't. Please, if I made it seem that way, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you can receive services, but the maximum amount of services that could be offered to you,
you gotta go back to them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Take a deep breath. Hold on. We're gonna take a deep breath right here. It is now 4:35 and we're taking a break. Because I done got frustrated.
Don't do that, please.
We taking a break. You are tuned into Rollin with the Doc, and it is every Wednesday live right here on all your familiar streaming platforms.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get my face together. I really am. I'm trying to get my face together. And as someone who definitely knows the system has, helped others, I think that's the piece that 100 Shades of Diversibility really can get in there. Oh, Jessica Strand says, two of my favorite ladies.
Aww.
You're my favorite too, Jess.
Yes.
Is that we're kind of right there. That's the whole purpose of having Rolling on the Roll with Dr. Kimberly and Dave, having Rolling with the Doc, so that we can reach those communities and say, hey, yep, is it frustrating? Yep, it can be. But you have those of us who are on the inside that can interpret the language that's being spoken to you, that can help you to navigate through some of the minutia that you would do. And so we can just pick up the phone and say, oh, hold on, let me call Katie. Katie's over at Network 180. Katie, I got somebody here in my office. Let's just do this over the computer. So we're sitting all righty. So that, Sequita and her 4 babies that took the bus out to Disability Advocates, does not have to take the bus all the way back over to Network 180. You just sit right here. I'm gonna call and we're just gonna get this done. Yep, you sit right here. Do you have everything? Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And this is what we do, and I love it. We just last week we were able to connect in the same way. I met a young lady who actually was an Uber driver, came to my house to make an Uber meal delivery, and we had the conversation. And y'all know I don't do Mondays is my rest day. I came into the office on a Monday and we did the walkthrough and said, okay, this is here, had everything. We had an opportunity to speak with Jenny, who is our referral specialist.
Yes.
And that's where we come in. That's where we come in, is to get you through that whole process.
Correct. And like you said, it's a process. And I want to go back to what you were saying about, we need to start the process earlier. We need to start the process earlier. And then that way, when we get to our teenage or our young adult ages, we already have the plan in motion. Plan is already in motion. And so therefore we can just now navigate the rest of the path. And so that is why I think it is, it is crucial being visible. And I appreciate everything that you do and everything you bring to disability advocates, because again, you're able to make those connections a little bit further than what we can do. But again, you always bring it back to reach out to disability advocates. Reach this person, call this person, and then we can help bridge those gaps. And so that's where I think this show and your show that on Tuesday, it's huge because it bridges those gaps. And so, I appreciate, what you're doing and what you have done. And just know that it's making a difference. It's making a difference in individuals' lives. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
I appreciate that. I want to say thank you to Maddie Lopez, who is watching.
Yes,
She
hello, Miss
lives
Maddie.
she lives in Arkansas.
All right, Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas is in the house. And I know Maddie's getting ready to ask me, what are we talking about, Dr. Kimberly? We are talking about, Maddie, getting into the system to receive help if you are born with a disability or you acquire a disability. But this show is more focused on those who were born with disabilities and how they can navigate through the system in order to live their best self-directed life.
Yes.
And what are the services that are available. And in every single state, there is a Center for Independent Living. Hey, RT Franklin, I want to say thank you so much, sir, for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Yes, hello.
In every state, there is a Center for Independent Living.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all of them are to help you with housing.
Yep.
To get into housing, transition out of assisted living housing, transportation, education, and job readiness.
Correct.
And then each one has the ability to add on some more specialty programs,
Mm-hmm.
provided that they have funding.
Correct.
And so we've done this. We did it maybe a couple of years ago where we went around the entire state of Michigan and talked to everyone in the Centers for Independent Living. We even went to Wisconsin, we went to California, and we went to the East Coast. We went to Maryland.
Nice.
Yeah, we did some traveling. But specifically, since school has started, and I think now is the time that if your child is having some issues, if
Mm-hmm.
you have not been tested to see if they have a disability, where can people go and get their children tested? Do they need to start with their primary care or Network 180?
They can start with their primary care physician. Network 180, yes, they do testing. There is another agency called ARC of Kent County, and so they also offer testing. And so I can add that contact information for them in the chat.
Okay, if you put it in there, then I can put it up on the screen. I can copy and paste.
Okay, perfect. And so I was just wondering if I share.
Now, where do you go prior to age 14 for assistance?
It depends on the assistance that what assistance are we, and then that's why I said it's so individually orchestrated. It depends on what the needs are, and so that's where that conversation kind of comes into play. So if you're talking about needs as far as someone that may be visually impaired, all right, so then we would connect them with the Bureau Services for Blind Persons or ABVI, and try to think what the name for Association for the Blind, that's ABVI, and vision impaired. If you are in need of testing because you may be thinking that your child is autistic, There is Ask the Autistic Association of Autistic Society of Kent County. And they're actually, like you said, also in our offices too. And so connecting you with Ask, if there is, um, if you're deaf and hard of hearing, they offer testing. Young, but a lot of those tests are usually done at your primary care physician. As you are growing and you are, going to your normal scheduled appointments, meaning your well child checks, 9 times out of 10, your physician is going to recognize something, or as a parent, paying attention to things that your child is doing that may be a little different from other children that you see. If you just have concerns, reach out to your primary care physician, and then they can refer you to different organizations or different specialists, or give us a call. We can help navigate, whatever things you may be seeing or questioning, where would be some good places to have those things tested.
Uh, it is now 4:45, and you have an announcement that needs to be made. You have the information.
For the veteran stand down, ma'am?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, so we are here in Kent County in Grand Rapids, Michigan, hosting a veteran stand down, and it is No Veterans Left Behind. That is going to be Friday, September 6th from 10 to 2, and it is going to be at the Kent County Veteran Services, which is at 836 Fuller Avenue, Northeast in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And that zip code is 49503. And so if you had any more questions regarding that, you can reach out to me as well. I can send you that flyer, or we can make sure that we get you the information so that you can also share it with individuals that you may know that are a veteran.
And it'll be on our social media. Heroes and Sheroes Corner of Grand Rapids is having an outside flea market August 31st, 2024 from 8 to 5 p.m. And it is $30 per parking spot. And you must bring your own table, chair, and all unsold items must be removed at the end of the event. They're located at 4809 Eastern Avenue, Kentwood, Michigan, 49508. And the contact number for them is 616-635-2768. And it looks like we have some, there's my comments here. So Maddie says, I was born with spina bifida, so where should I come to get help?
Miss Maddie, are you in Michigan?
She's in Arkansas.
You should have a Center for Independent Living there in Arkansas. Give me a second. I'm going to try to pull it up and get you that information. But if you contact the Center for Independent Living there, they will be able to direct you into where you can find those services or find those testing places in Arkansas. There we go.
Thank you so much for all of the likes and the hearts that are going up. We appreciate you. And Heidi DeVries is watching. Hey, Heidi. She said, hey, Doc.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Heidi. So
Heidi.
it looks, I'm sorry, Dr. Kimberly. It looks like in Arkansas, you have a couple. You have one in Hot Springs, one in Conway, and is that Pine Bluff? And another one in, is it Frayville?
Hot Springs.
Yep. Hot Springs, Pine Bluff.
PINEBLUFF.
Conway.
CONWAY.
Correct. in Frayville or
F
Fryerville.
FR.
Faye.
Oh, wait a minute. FAY.
Faye. And the little thing is over it. It won't let me click on.
Fay what?
Hold on. Oh, ETTE
Uh-huh.
VILLE.
Oh, Fayetteville.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't see the other letters. It was covering it, but I found it.
Okay, Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, Conway, and Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Correct. And those are all centers for independent living. And so,
All right, hold on. Give me 1 second. But and there y'all go. So Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, Conway, and Fayetteville, Arkansas are where the centers for independent living are located, where you can get services. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4.
yes.
Yay! So that's flashed on YouTube. That's on Facebook. On Doom and boom. So you guys see that. Thank you so much for the hearts and the likes. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
All righty. And we want to say thank you to Kylie McGinnis, who gave us a like. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you, Kylie.
She works for Interim Healthcare. And if
Oh,
you are
nice.
looking to be a caregiver through Interim Healthcare, if you go in and mention Rolling on the Road, you receive a $300 sign-on bonus
Nice.
for becoming a caregiver. Again, that's here in Michigan, in West Michigan. And just mention Rolling on the Road, Dr. Kimberly, and you get a $300 sign-on bonus. And if you are paying for care out of pocket, if you mention Rolling on the Road, Dr. Kimberly, you receive a $100 credit on your first bill.
Amazing. That's good.
So we are trying to do some great things. Our guest from last week has published a book called Choices. We talked about making some better choices. We had a really good conversation. And so if you want one, please reach out to me. I am taking names and addresses because the author is signing the book. So if you want a book, let me know. I got text messages today from folks with their names so that they can be signed, and got addresses so they can be shipped out to them from the author.
Amazing.
So that was really good. You can go back on YouTube and watch the replay. And we had some really good, we had a great question that came up. How do you deal with choices made by other people that are affecting you?
Whew.
Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep.
So we had a really great discussion on last week. And if you guys want to still reach out concerning guardianship, you can reach out to Miss Diane Diamond, and that's Diane, and Diamond is spelled without the I, so it's Dimond, and she is accepting questions through her website. So I've had calls and inboxes concerning that, and she has answered folks. She's asked that you reach her by email, and we'll post that up after this show.
Nice.
There was a lot of information concerning guardianship, and a lot of times folks that are between 14 and 26 that do have disabilities end up with a guardianship. So if you are a guardian, then you need to know how you can navigate the system so that this young person can live their best self-directed life.
Correct. And
And
that's huge. And like you said, that is the critical age. And understanding too that when that young adult turns 18, that if things along those lines are not in place, life is going to change. You, as a parent, you no longer can go into, or most doctors are going to ask, do you want your mom or your dad here? And that young adult can say yes or no. And because they are now their own guardian at 18, things
oh wow,
change. And a lot of parents are not ready for that adjustment. And so that is another piece that is beneficial. So knowing that, hey, as a family, we got to come up with what the plan is. So yeah, 18 changes a lot of things.
wow, time brings around the change. Again, today our guest was Ella Bonner, the youth transition specialist at Disability Advocates of Kent County. She
Yes.
can be reached at 616 And yes, she can possibly let you sit in the office and you guys can call somebody over at Network 180 if you just
Yes.
happen to go there
Yes.
first, or you guys can talk to Jenny, who is the referral specialist, or if you
Yes.
catch me, I definitely will say, okay, hold on. Let's go over here and we just do a big conference call and we get everything done. We want to make things as smooth as possible,
Correct.
as smooth as possible. And we want to thank all of you
Yes.
for
Thank
tuning in, those that I saw and even those that I did not see that tuned in today. We appreciate
you. Yes.
you because we
Yes.
couldn't do what
Yes.
we do without you. Again, if you would like the book and signed by the author, of course, at no charge to you, we take care of that here. Just reach out and we'll make sure your name gets on the list and we get your address and he will sign it. As you can see, look at there. Can you see that? Yes,
Yes.
signed. So we can get you a signed copy of the book and you can start to go through and, you know, making that choice to say, I have a disability and I'm gonna live my best life and I'm gonna make the choice to go and get help. I'm gonna go to Network 180 regardless of what we think the stigma is. We found out that it's more to it, and they
Yes.
offer more services, and we're gonna do that.
Correct. Well, feel free. You can always reach out to me first, or like it was stated, Jenny, and we can help make that connection. It's nice when you again have partners in other agencies that you can just pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, I have a client in my office or a consumer. This is what we need. How can we help? What do we need to do to make sure that they are okay?"
And you heard it here from Miss Ella. She said this is a partnership, and she's with you, to the end, and we appreciate
Yes.
that. We definitely appreciate your stance, your character, the integrity that you bring to the position, and the love and the care.
Thank you. I love what I do. I do. I love what I do. I love what I do. So it means a lot to me to make sure that everyone that needs my help, no matter the age, receives the help that they need.
And you heard Miss Ella here first. She's there for you. Again, the number is 616-323-2233. And that is Miss Ella Bonner, who is the Youth Transition Specialist at Disability Advocates of Kent County. And they're located at 160 68th Street Southwest, and that's Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49548. Thank
Yes.
you so much for tuning in.
Thank
We
you. Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
so much. We appreciate you, Miss Ella, for
Yes.
taking the time out. And it definitely was worth the wait. We appreciate those who had comments, questions, and concerns. And Maddie, we hope that helped you out.
Yes.
So if you are in the Hot Springs area, I'm sorry, in Arkansas, then Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, Conway, and Fayetteville have centers for independent living.
Yes.
All right. Until next week, you guys be safe and enjoy your holiday weekend.
Thanks again, Dr. Kimberly. It was a pleasure.
The pleasure was all